And today he was the man that nobody could beat. It may have been a little bit last minute, but from the very first minute, that man has been the fastest man, and those are the men who've helped him get there. He's wearing all of his team members on his helmet this weekend. Once again, it was a podium of world champions, but it was the current world champion who was standing on the top step, and he's standing alongside the man who you could argue is probably the most successful and talented man up there, the only man not wearing a race suit, Adrian Newey, who will be delighted with that result. Well, Eddie, for the first time, Formula One comes to India, and I think it's only right that we explain to the local fans here what Formula One is all about. Therefore, Sebastian had the pole, he had the fastest lap, he had the win, and that is Formula One in 2011.
Well, whether you like it or not, that is the case. He has dominated his championship. Took over a position from last year where some people may say he was lucky to win the championship, but he absolutely made it count. This year has been remarkable. One of the best demonstrations of absolute dominance that I've ever seen.
And we've spoken about a bit of chaos. It's just worth you actually just walking over to the pit lane and having a little look what's going on there, Ian, because they've decided to bring all of the crew cars down onto the pit lane, and it's full of the marshals. It's full of all of the men who've made sure that this Grand Prix can happen. 15 years ago, they first spoke about a Formula One race here in India, and now finally that dream has become a reality, and you can see what it means not just to the people who are here working at the first race. And it's important to point out that all the marshals here are Indian marshals who've been trained up and helped to be ready for this race. But take a look at the grandstand behind them as well, packed to the rafters, a great turnout and a real sense of celebration here. And the real celebrations belong to Red Bull, and Christian Horner standing alongside us. Your emotions looking at these scenes, Christian? It's been a special weekend.
It's just been tremendous. I mean, the reaction that Formula One's had in India this week has been incredible. The enthusiasm, the amount of potential Formula One drivers there are on the roads here is something quite unique, and it's been a wonderful venue, and it's been a great first Indian Grand Prix.
This could be, I think, something that probably in our show that we've had, we haven't really given enough credit perhaps to Vijay Mallya, because he has been banging on the drum for such a long time about bringing an Indian Grand Prix. We were not ever sure that would ever happen, were we, honestly? And he, for one, I'm sure he has a little tear in the back of his eye, because this is a dream fulfilled today. It's a fantastic event, great foundation, as you rightly say, and full marks to everyone that's been responsible. Vijay needs a fair accreditation for the same thing, nevertheless.
Indeed, and we've certainly shown the people of India what Formula One is all about this year. It's all about Sebastian Vettel. Are you thinking the same as us, though? It's about time somebody gave him a race.
No, I mean, that race was quite an intense one on the pit wall, because it looked comfortable, but obviously with the DRS and that hard tyre, not knowing how slow or fast it was going to be at the end, it was all about managing the gaps and getting the pit stops at the right time. And Sebastian's been so good at that all year, and he was just inch perfect today.
Look, I think we've gone on with enough superlatives about Sebastian. What I would like to ask Christian actually is, what's the matter with Mark? Why is he not making a bigger effort? Why is he not closer to him? He was on the front row of the grid. He's still to pass a car, I understand, at the start of the race. And that's not a great. It's not a great sort of memory to finish this season with. Mark needs to up his game. Is that not right?
I think that Mark. It was a good race for Mark. I mean, he lost out around that second pit stop. It was just frustrating. We couldn't keep him, in P2. He dropped his place to Jensen on the first lap, and then it was just impossible going longer or shorter with Fernando to keep him ahead. But he's aware of that, and I'm sure he's going to bounce back, strongly in Abu Dhabi and Brazil.
One of the remarks I heard over the weekend was Jackie Stewart said even Michael Schumacher couldn't win in a Red Bull. What did he mean by that?
I got no idea what he means by that. He's not a Red Bull driver, so I've got no idea. So you better ask him.
I have asked him, but he refuses to expand on that particular argument.
Well, we'll leave that one. Before you disappear, though, I know you've enjoyed Eddie's shirts for the last couple of seasons. What do you think of this week's effort?
He's taken it to a whole new level now. I mean, you can hear the crowd going mad for what are you wearing?
He's embracing India, Christian.
I don't think you need to know, because one thing for sure is I would hate to see you in this, because it's a bit off the top.
Your legs are looking a bit strange change though. I mean,
that's the green of India. This is the red of India. Can I?
And the shoes?
Well, they're sort of rock and roll boots that I kind of found in a cupboard somewhere.
The good news is, Christian, courtesy of Children in Need, you can bid for this shirt, and we'll give you details about that a little bit later on. But
I'll definitely bid for that.
Okay, I bet you will. Thank you very much, and I'm sure you can go and celebrate now with your team. Well done. We'll see you in Abu Dhabi. So, celebrations for Red Bull. A fantastic result once again for Sebastian Vettel. Once again, Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa coming together on the track. And in the commentary box, they couldn't quite work out why there was a penalty for Felipe Massa. Can you shed any light on this decision by the stewards, Eddie?
We've just noticed. I want you to look carefully at Massa's head. He definitely knows at this stage. Look, wait. We've watched it. He looks over. He sees. He knows that Hamilton is there. And I think that's what the judges have seen. They saw for sure whether he wanted to complain about the size of the mirrors. He looked over. For sure he knew that Hamilton was there.
And it's there. The 3, maybe even 4 looks before he decided to turn in. Of course, this penalised Lewis Hamilton greatly. He slipped back to 9th after this. That would have also had a bearing, would it, on the way the stewards came to their decision?
I don't know. You know, one thing I think they just needed to demonstrate for once that, Lewis has felt that he has had the hard end of the results and over some of the seasons. But look at it again here. Apparently we don't see the helmet, of course, in this particular shot. But under normal circumstances, you could say, some people will probably criticise our decision and say, look, it actually was down to Lewis. That was his fault, and the driver from behind should always take care. But actually, in this case, it's different. I actually believe, in this point, Massa knew he was there, and he had no right to turn in that way.
Okay, well, as the celebrations and the wild abandon continues down here, let's hear from Lewis Hamilton, because for almost the first time this season, involved in an incident and not penalised himself. I'm sure that will cheer him up, but he won't be very happy with where he finished the race. Let's see what he has to say.
I'm sure when you woke up this morning, 7th place wasn't on your radar. Just give us your thoughts about the race, and then we'll speak in more detail in a second.
There's not really much to say, is there? It's a disappointing day. Very, very, very sorry for my team. They worked hard all weekend, as they always do, and deserved a better result. Obviously, congratulations to Jensen and to Sebastian, but I don't really know what else to say.
An obvious question. Tell us about the incident with Felipe Massa. He obviously got a drive-through for that.
I don't know. I mean, we had the 1-minute silence before the start of the race, and me and Sebastian were standing, me and Felipe were standing next to each other, and he hasn't spoken to me since a long, long time. So I made an effort, I put my arm around him and just said, good luck for the race. And but in the race, I tried to overtake, and I tried to come out of it because it didn't look like he was going to give me any space, and we collided. So. But again, just really, really sorry for my team.
After that, I heard you on your team radio asking about damage to your car. Did you feel there was any damage, or was that just you checking? I
had some vibrations when all the right-handers. It feels like the floor was scraping on the floor, and I just had very, very poor performance. So, and I was pushing as hard as I could. Just didn't have the pace of anyone really. So, but the car looks fine. So maybe it's just me.
I know you were hoping for a really strong weekend here. What do you do now between Abu Dhabi and leaving here in India?
Fly back and try to get my head back in the game. And the Indians did a fantastic job this weekend. The track was great, really, really was great, and we've been treated so well here. We've been treated like kings, so I'm really, really grateful for that.
Well, Lewis has been well looked after. I think he looks like he wants to go home and look after himself now, though. He said for next season he's going to remove all the distractions, and they're ready, quite clear. Go home and get his head back in the game. He's not happy, but he can't take full responsibility for the way his race turned out today.
Well, I think, leave today just momentarily for one side, because this is a culmination of other races and a couple of incidents, and you can clearly see there's animosity there between those two drivers. They're not talking to each other, and that's a very distasteful way. I don't like to see that in particular people who are competing. Yes, compete hard and compete wheel to wheel with your competitor, but you mustn't lose focus on, nevertheless, a friendship, a bond that we all have travelling the world. So from that, I'm disappointed to hear that that's going on with those two. I don't know. For me, I've said it for some time. I think we saw a big hug between Lewis and his dad. I think we need to see more of that. We need to see more passion. We need to see more relationship. If Lewis is talking about reviving what he got before, he has to think about what was there that gave him the special edge from before, and that was somebody close to him that he could confide with, he could talk to, he could really, really go out and chill when he needed to chill with, and at the same time be prepared to come race to win.
Okay, and also good to know that Lewis was doing his best to make amends with Felipe Massa before the race. It's worth just having a quick look at what's happening on the start-finish straight at the moment, and they've created this little circle here. They're dancing around, and we said, Eddie, before that we got this Grand Prix, we said the important thing here is to make sure that we feel a sense of India, we feel a sense of passion and a sense of excitement, and I think we've had that, haven't we?
Look, this is an unbelievable foundation when you consider what's happening, the euphoria, the excitement. Now we understand what cricket is like in India, because it just takes over. And this is a further example. I mean, if we could emulate what happens at cricket and cricket grounds, which is, I think we're now well on the way to do that. This was a very big success. We still have to see what the downsides, if there are any, in terms of audience, in terms of people who turned up for the race. But as a first off, I have to say, as of this moment in time, foundation blocks are very well implanted. It's been a real success.
And after a difficult couple of weeks for motorsport, how nice to come to a country where the national flag stands for courage and sacrifice. And if you're wondering what the flags behind us are doing, well, we can see one Indian flag, but plenty of Bahraini flags as well, and that's because, of course, Bahrain didn't have a Grand Prix this year for well-publicised reasons, and plenty of the marshals and stewards have come over here to help out with the running of this race. And what a race it was. It was drama from start to finish. These lovely wide corner entries encouraging the drivers to have some fun out there, and have fun they did. Let's hear from the fastest men in the Grand Prix in the press conference.
Sebastian, pole, you led every lap and set the fastest lap. Was this your most perfect win of the season, do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously it was a very good race for us. I enjoyed, the time in the lead very much. Obviously, I had a little bit of a fight with Jensen in the distance, who always was around 4 seconds, and strangely kept closing in around the pit stops. I don't know, I was pushing very hard into the box and out of the box, but we seemed to lose a little bit there, so we need to understand. But on circuit, it obviously was crucial to manage the tires, make sure that you have enough of them left at the end. So all in all, it was a very smooth race. The car was, very well balanced. I felt even a little bit more confident on the hard tires in the end. But overall, obviously a fantastic performance. Thanks to the whole team, thanks to Renault. I think exceptional job so far the whole season without any problems. But to be honest with you, it's a little bit mixed emotions. On the one hand, I'm very, very happy. It's the first Grand Prix in India, and I'm very proud to be the first winner, and I think we can be as a team. But on the other hand, looking back at last weekend, we lost two of our mates. I didn't know Dan Weldon, but obviously it was a big name in motorsport. I got to know this year Marco Simoncelli, and obviously our thoughts are with them. Yes, we are ready to take certain risks when we jump into the car, but we obviously pray that every time nothing happens, but sometimes you get reminded, and it's the last thing that we want to see. So as I said, it's a bit mixed emotions, and our thoughts are with them at this moment.
Thank you for that. Jensen, your engineer said at one point, we can race Vettel, but I guess it proved just a little bit too difficult today.
Yeah, it was. The last race I really struggled on the first lap. I lost a lot of places, so I wanted to redeem myself here. Got a good start and was able to get up to second by turn 4. And then it was just basically trying to hang on to Sebastian. His pace was very good. He didn't seem to make any mistakes. And every time through the pit stops, we gained a little bit. I don't know if it was the stop itself or if it was after the stop. But on tyres, when I came out of the box, I felt very good. I felt very competitive, and that was when I could really close the gap down. But as soon as Seb got into a rhythm, I couldn't do anything about it, really. But all in all, for the team, I think we've done a perfect job today. We couldn't have done anything else. Yesterday was a disaster for me in qualifying, but I think we've put it right here. So a good race, But as Seb said, you know, it's a tough weekend for everyone in motorsport. And the last 2 weekends have been very, very difficult, and we've had 2 fatalities, so it's very difficult, you know, especially with Dan. You know, I knew Dan from a very early age. He was the guy that we always had to beat in the early formulas. So yeah, very, very sad day also. So I think we should dedicate this first Indian race to Dan, and obviously Marco, another super talented youngster who was the most amazing guy to watch on a bike. So yeah, I think we should dedicate this to them.
Thank you for that. Fernando, your battle was with Mark Webber, and you got him at the second round of pit stops. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, obviously we didn't make the perfect start today. I think to be in a very new circuit and starting on the clean side, I think we didn't have the grip that we were expecting, and I think the other side of the grid, they started to be better than us, so we lost a couple of positions there. And then we raced with Mark until the second pit stop, where a little bit surprisingly he decided to stop, and then we did 2 extra laps and we were able to overtake him. So extremely happy to be in the podium in this first race here in India, to have this feeling, and to taste the champagne is always nice in a first race in a new country. And as I think Sebastian and Jenson said, mixed feelings this weekend with sad days for motorsport, or sad weeks with the 2 accidents, and I think we all praise for them today and try to go ahead, but always remember these 2 fantastic people.
Sebastian, you've set a new record today for the most laps led in a Formula 1 season, taking over from Nigel Mansell. I bet you just don't want this year to end.
No, I don't mind. I think we can continue. The car's fantastic. The team is enjoying, and you know, we are on a run basically since the beginning of the season, and it's great. You know, we enjoy every race, and yeah, the great thing is you walk in the garage in the morning and you see the guys, and they are, you know, flat out. They are pushing very hard, and there's no sign of, you know, getting lazy and not paying attention to detail. So it's really enjoyable to see that, knowing that we have already achieved a lot this year, but we are still hungry. So we are not lacking motivation at any stage. All the people, you know, come back with their questions, but we seem to give them the right answers. So yeah, I love what I do. I think we all do. So it's great. And as you said, we don't want this in a way to end.
And after all the excitement on the circuit, that was an understandably somber press conference. And I think the best way to remember Marco Simoncelli and Dan Weldon was for those guys to go out there today and do what they do to the best of their ability.
I think they said everything, didn't they, Jake? And it was done with such sincerity and feeling. It doesn't need any more from me to add to that. We all thought about these guys today, and we know the sacrifice that these drivers are taking every week in all different sports, not just here in Formula 1, throughout the world, whether it's karting or whether it's grass track racing or biking. Motor racing is dangerous. It's never not going to be dangerous, but these are dark days when you see what we have seen in the last couple of weeks, and we're just very happy. Formula 1, thankfully, the legislators and the organisers, they make sure that the cars are absolutely at the safest way possible.
Sure, and after spending time in such a corporate commercial sport that is constantly moving at an incredible rate of knots, it really is worth pointing out to you at home that the atmosphere this weekend really has been one of reflection for 2 great men who were lost to motorsport in the past couple of weeks, and we remembered them here by putting on as memorable a Grand Prix as possible. And this is how the race finished, with Sebastian Vettel picking up yet another win. He picked up that stunning pole position. He set new records, and he takes the win as well. Well done, Jenson Button, the only man to really race Sebastian Vettel on the track regularly this season, and Fernando Alonso also manages to finish rather impressively on the podium as well. Nico Rosberg, 6th for Mercedes-Benz in front of Lewis Hamilton, difficult for him. And Jaime Alguersuari, what a fantastic display by him, once again finishing in the points. Vitaly Petrov just missing out, and Bruno Senna was running in the points there at the very last minute, having to stop and slipping back. Well done, Heikki Kovalainen. 14th place for Team Lotus, he'll be happy with that. Narain Karthikeyan, we'll hopefully speak to him in just a few moments. He was representing India out there on the track today, and it was a race to forget for Felipe Massa. He did not finish the Grand Prix, a tangle with Lewis Hamilton, a tangle with the curb, and it left him as a DNF. And Kamui Kobayashi, he now hasn't picked up points in the last 8 races, not good enough for him. And this is where it leaves things as far as the Drivers' Championship goes. Well, Jenson Button, second place today, retains second place in the Drivers' Championship, 134 points now behind Sebastian Vettel. We know that that gap can't be breached, but he's now starting to pull away from the rest of the guys behind him. And let's look at the constructors, and we can see that it's getting very tight indeed now in the middle there. Sixth, Force India, with Sauber and Toro Rosso behind them, and now Sauber and Toro Rosso equal on points, 41 points each. Sauber in the lead there because of their better finishes. And fresh from the car, fresh from the garage, with a few thousand fans hanging around behind him, and some grid girls as well, who I'm sure are very excited to see Narain Karthikeyan. He joins us after what would have been a very special afternoon. Explain to us your emotions racing out there, Narain.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have to finish the race, and I finished the race, and I was running pretty competitively, beat my teammate, and a Green Lotus, I think. I made a very good start. Lost out to the Virgin by half a second, but nevertheless, it was with what I had to finish.
Today probably was the start of something big here in India because of the fact that we've had the race. How do you think it's going to help you commercially to bring the necessary sponsorship to get you a really good drive next year?
I think, Eddie, you gave me the first drive in 2001, the first test in a Jordan car. Since then, it's been building up. And then I made my debut in 2005. And then Force India came in, now this Grand Prix. So a lot of corporate support, and I think as you saw, there was a lot of crowd as well today, so it's a big success for us, and motorsport in generally is on a very high at the moment in India.
Yet more evidence that just about every driver in Formula One at one time or another has driven with Eddie. Let's talk about India and motor racing in general. How important is it that in a country that we know has plenty of its own socio-economic problems, that Formula One comes here and gives something back to the country, as well as turning up and impressing with these beautiful cars and this lovely circuit?
I think it's very, you know, all our neighbors, China, Malaysia, and so on, Singapore, we're competing with them with economy and so many other things. So having a high-profile event like this gets us that boost, which is very important these days. And as you said, there is a lot of disparity and everything, but you know, we are a country of billion passionate people, and we are very, very happy with what we have, and it's fantastic for Formula One to come here and for India to host this event.
Great. Have you spoken to Colin Collis, your boss? What have you said to him? Because you look very strong out there. Give me a seat. Is that what you've asked him?
It is an option, but now the Indians are on a buying spree of Formula One teams, so you watch and see what happens.
I sold too early, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. He should have kept it a little bit longer.
OK, well, Narain, we're just going to have a look at the start of the race. It would be good if you stayed with us just for the first part of this to see how you kept out of trouble at the beginning, because it all started happening around you towards the very back. So let's take a look at the start of the race. And Sebastian Vettel's aim, Eddie, was to get away cleanly in the lead, and he managed to do just that.
Well, we heard Mark Webber saying that he thought he had a good chance to get into the lead, but he didn't do it. Look, Vettel gone already, absolutely out of sight.
And Narain, what's going on there from your perspective?
Yeah, cars flying everywhere, and one of the Green Lotuses braked, somebody hit him, and I hit him, and he spun, and that was that. I was lucky to get away with some little bit of damage, and the car was a little bit strange, but at the end of the day it was okay.
This circuit's been designed to tempt people into having a go at some overtakes, so we can see that here with Jenson Button having a little go on Mark Webber and managing to snatch and hold on to that second place. Has that been one of the successes here, encouraging the drivers to have a go into the corner?
Because in both the braking areas that happens, the circuit becomes really wide, so you know, even if you're a little bit outside, or you can take different lines and get away with it. It's not like, you know, other circuits all over the world.
OK, well, Narain, we're surrounded by autograph hunters, so we'll let you go off and enjoy those. Thank you very much for joining us. And while Narain does that, we'll ride on board with Fernando Alonso. And it looked like Fernando had got the perfect start, Eddie, but it just wasn't to be. Going a bit wide there, losing the rear end. We talked about the lack of grip on this circuit, and it cost him.
Well, he made the cardinal error, didn't he? He went too wide on the first corner, and what that does is it entices everybody to come on the inside where they have the grip and they don't have any other problems, and they just nip by. And that was really, Jenson was right there to how many times have we seen Jenson take opportunities like this? It's fabulous.
Well, let's ride on board then with Jenson. And you can see here the start made by Fernando Alonso before he gets out onto the dirty stuff, loses his grip there. Jenson down the inside, but the superb move from Jenson was as we went down this huge kilometre-long straight that undulates Jensen managed to make that move on Mark Webber, who struggled all afternoon. So just talk us through this move by Jensen.
Well, I think, look, let's be very honest, the Mercedes engine, in my opinion, has probably got the legs of most other engines in Formula 1, and it certainly has the legs of Renault in a given situation like this. He's obviously in full slipstream, and he only can move once, Mark Webber, so it gave the absolutely drive, you know, it was like a catapult. What Jensen witnessed here was something magic. It's just something that you can never really quite explain. When you get the draft, and then you get out of the draft, you've still got enough power to pull you alongside and pull you in front. That's a magic situation to be in.
Okay, well, we know it was a difficult afternoon for Lewis Hamilton. You can see here his Bob Marley reggae helmet. A difficult weekend all round for him, and once again just being stolen at the start there by Felipe.
I think he's probably saying to himself, get me to the end of Brazil as quickly as possible. Get me out of here. Let my life start again sometime at the beginning of December. I've just had enough. Everything I do, every door I open seems to be poised with problems. And he's saying to himself, I'm sorry, guys. He's apologising to the team. He just can't do enough. But everything he does do seems to turn out in problems.
That's the thing. Lewis Hamilton not deserving the race that he got today. He had strong pace for most of the weekend. Now let's watch Pastor Maldonado, because this was right in the thick of the action. And you can see there one of the Renaults nipping past him, and then he gets a bit of a clunk about there, believe it or not, from his teammate. It ruined Rubens Barrichello's race, and Pastor Maldonado in the end having to retire from the Grand Prix. Pastor Maldonado is suffering the worst full season of any Williams driver since this team were formed in 1978. Will he still be in Formula 1 this year, next year, Eddie?
I think if he is, then he'll owe a lot to his commercial nous, because what he does bring to the team is a very significant budget from Venezuela. I think he's actually performed really quite well. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know what the situation is about Raikkonen, and then we hear the possibility of Adrian Sutil going there if he's not retained by Force India. So there's a lot to play for here at Williams, and how it unfolds, I'm not sure I know, and I'm not sure anybody knows.
Okay, well, Pastor Maldonado, only 1 point to his name all season long, and this man, Sergio Perez, he managed to pick up a point today. It's been a very difficult last few races for Sauber. They're desperately trying to fend off the teams who are chasing behind them, particularly Toro Rosso, who are now starting to show some great pace. And they need both Sergio Perez and Kamui Kobayashi, who struggled today, to really start to impress.
I'm hugely impressed with Perez. You give him a very difficult set of circumstances. You go out and you say to him, look, our strategy is going to be, we're going to stop one, stop less. You're going to have to put up with the tyres. Yes, they're going to be crap, but let's go with them. They've got to go for them. And he does it every single time. And today, he nicked a point, so to speak. No one gave him a chance of getting a point today. And what he has done is that he's given some impetus to the Sauber team, because in my opinion in recent races they've just not been close enough to the action, and they are in desperate trouble to try and keep Toro Rosso behind them. I don't see it actually happening. I think Toro Rosso have the wind in the sail, and they're going to be off.
Okay, Toro Rosso fighting hard. Another man fighting hard is Michael Schumacher. He really is enjoying his battle with Nico Rosberg. He went into this race just 7 points behind Nico. He's now closed that gap. He finished in the strong points finish today. Let's hear from him.
Led to another strong race, 5th place today.
Yeah, it just worked out perfectly to plan. My plan was not to use any curves during the first 2 corners and just save it all for the long straight. Worked out perfectly well. In the important moment, I was there and catch the positions, and from there sort of planned my race carefully. There was no need to run too close to Nico and destroy your tyres, so I just drove my pace that I knew my tyres could handle for whole distance, and that worked out nicely. On top, I have to say, I mean, the guys that I'm working with, we have a lot of experience all together, and it was nice to sort out the car, particularly for the race, and have a really great balance.
And it was nice that you got the nod as well in the strategy. You were able to Nico pitted first, and then you held your position.
Normally the guys who pit first have actually the advantage, because they can take the fresher tyres earlier. Here it was slightly different in as far as I had my tyres in such good shape, even by the end, that I was able to manage to pull the gap, and that is not normally the case. So I don't think it was a strategy advantage, it was just managing and setting up the car to the right spot.
And leaving India, do you have positive things to say about this first Indian Grand Prix?
I have a big compliment to make. If you imagine that these guys do their job the first time, I'm pretty sure things have been difficult, but it worked out perfectly fine. The circuit is a great challenge, is of fantastic nature, good spectacle for overtaking, a good challenge to drive for us, and organised, I mean, very much in order, and just a big compliment to make.
Do you know what? He looks like he's got a bit of spark back, Michael Schumacher. Finished 5th today, and it's now just 5 points between him and Nico Rosberg. He's told you, he's told me, he's told everybody on the other side of that camera that he doesn't care if he finishes in front of his teammates. Do you believe that for 1 second?
Not for an iota. This is probably the most competitive man on this planet. Are we expected to believe such nonsense as he just dribbled out to us like that? He wants to beat Rosberg and everybody else in this paddock like there is no tomorrow. He is a driven man, in more pardon the pun, but he is a totally driven man, and he wants to beat everyone, but particularly Nico Rosberg.
Okay, well, Paul di Resta has shown certainly more than an iota of quality and talent this season, hasn't he? Here he is, managing to nick past one of the Virgin cars early on in the race. Things have slightly fallen away from him, a non-points finish here this weekend, Eddie. We believe that Paul's going to be retained at that team next season with Nico Hülkenberg. We'll get your thoughts on that in just a couple of moments, but first, let's hear from Paul and get his thoughts on driving for Force India at the Indian race.
Well, Paul, just sum up your race for us today.
I think we maybe underestimated tyre wear. We went for a fairly aggressive start on the hards. Was always a plan to come in with the hope of a safety car, given it was a new track and how slippy it was offline, and it probably was a big risk, but one well worth taking, because if it had worked out, you would have you know, basically gained the pit stop and done the race on 3 sets of softs, which was the quickest way, but unfortunately it didn't happen. And really the other people around us were able to do 2 stops, so their tyre wear was better, and that was it really. But when we were on track, we were reasonably quite quick, but just too much time in the pits.
Yeah, you put your 2 stops in pretty quickly in succession, and then you just couldn't have stayed out on 2?
No, I don't think we had the tyre wear to manage that. Certainly not in the first set of softs. Maybe the last 2 sets seemed to work quite a bit better, and the lap times improved, and you know, but we had to stop. We'd never have made it to the end on the middle set.
It's a big weekend for Force India. There's lots of celebrities, lots of media attention on you, a Scottish guy giving some Indians lots to smile about. Do you think it's been a successful first Indian Grand Prix?
I think the Grand Prix has been successful. It's not been so successful for me, but the nice thing was that Adrian, I think, you know, got 9th place, and the 2 points that you get for that is obviously valuable for us for the Constructors' Championship, and that was always the aim with the way we split the strategies in terms of my car and his car for the race, to optimise that.
Well, Paul will hopefully be back in the points when we head to Abu Dhabi for the next race, and we're now joined by 2 Martins, one of whom enjoyed the race from the commentary box, the other from the pit wall, and we'll come to you first, Martin Whitmarsh, get your thoughts on the race. What do you think?
Well, I think, for Jensen, just a fantastic race, an assertive start, aggressive start, and I got up to 2nd place. Fantastic defence with Mark behind him. Looked after the tyres, didn't put a foot wrong, wasn't quite quick enough. We weren't quite quick enough to catch Sebastian, but a great result. We got within 2.5 seconds. I think Sebastian stretched his legs a little bit at the end, but I think great race for him. For Lewis, then, you know, I think disappointing. He and Felipe, they're obviously magnetic. They come together. Unfortunately, I don't have to have the debate with Eddie this time. The stewards have made a clear decision, which I think is obviously clear. But nonetheless, that hurt Lewis. It hurt him with having to change the nose box, switch to a 3-stop, and thereafter probably his car is damaged and impaired, so I think he had the discipline to bring home some valuable points, which meant we could secure 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship.
Well, I think that's just about everything wrapped up in 20 seconds. No, we'll go into the minutiae in just a moment. But first, coming to the other Martin who's with us, overview of the race from the commentary box.
I thought it was okay. We hyped it up a lot, and it didn't quite deliver for us, did it, for a number of reasons. I think next year they've got to bring those high-pressure washers that we see in Europe and really clean it. So, there are some unique features here with these very wide turn-ins to the corners that were unusual because it was so dusty from the construction. But, you have to take India for what it is, and they've tried hard and they've got it done. And I think they put on a good show. Next year it'll be better, but I can't say it was a classic race, if I'm honest.
OK, but it wasn't the dusty track that caused the problem between Felipe and Lewis. Eddie's been crystal clear, and he said that he believes that Felipe takes a couple of looks in his mirror before deciding to make the move. Well, let's watch it from Lewis Hamilton's perspective, and perhaps you could talk us through your emotions as we saw this shot live on the television once again.
Probably couldn't tell you what my emotions are live on TV, but pretty disappointed, obviously. I mean, Yeah, I think it's the stewards made a decision. It's a shame these two do seem to be magnetic, but he turned in and he knew he was there, and Lewis didn't have a chance. I'm sure others will try and interpret it differently, but I think it's quite clear.
Yes, we all think it's quite clear. Martin, I need to talk about Lewis Hamilton. His mojo, it's clearly evaporated, it's gone. We don't know where it's gone to. What are you, as a team, what are you planning to do to find the sparkle back in Lewis Hamilton?
Well, again, you say that. The last race, pole, he then had an impaired car. He defended brilliantly. You know, I think that was a great race that he had there. Held a strong second position. He came here. He was second on the podium. Yes, he made, there was an error in day one. He had a 3-place penalty. So actually, it's been very unfortunate. I think he can do a better job than he is at the moment. He's a great racing driver. We've got to give him that opportunity. I think he's got 2 races to demonstrate to you and to everyone else that he's a great racing driver.
OK, Martin, perhaps you would like to analyse in detail probably the most traumatic moment of the race. If we take a look at this, and you can talk us through it, Martin.
Yeah, you're talking about the incident we're going to see again.
No, I was talking about the reaction of Rowan Atkinson in the McLaren.
He nearly said a bad word, didn't he? Watch.
Very nearly. That's a man, though, who loves his motor racing, isn't he?
He does. He certainly does.
OK, well, now let's do some proper analysis then, and let's look back at the incidents between, as Martin has described, the magnetic Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa. It's not the first time this season. Have you noticed a pattern emerging in the way that these guys have been coming together or anything?
There's clearly bad blood between them, and we see that when they're out of the car. We definitely see it when they're in the car. It's just a number of incidents, and I remember having something like this with Jean Alesi back in 1992 when I was at Benetton and he was at Ferrari. We just happened to be the same speed at all the tracks the whole year, and you're always fighting over the same piece of tarmac, and sometimes it's, they yield and sometimes they don't. Picking up on something that was said, of course Felipe Massa was looking in his mirror going down a turnpike because he needed to judge where the other car. I've done it 1,000 times in my life. You've got to look in the mirror to see where the other car is when you're going to take a view on whether in a split second you can turn in or not. It depends which camera angle you look at. Obviously that was back in Singapore when Lewis just slightly underestimated the length of his car, but it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of another between these two.
It seems like that every time, though. They're kind of half-hearted overtake moves that result in them both slipping off. And
yeah, this is back in Suzuka when Lewis said, I just didn't know he was there. I absolutely had no idea he was coming around the outside of me. So, as I say, 6 of one, half a dozen of another, isn't it?
Martin's opinion?
Well, it's been unfortunate. I think we've had the debate on all of them. I think today, if we focus on this one, then I think Felipe was judged by the stewards. We accept that. But I think let's talk about something positive. I know we want to talk about those incidents. Jenson Button's doing a fantastic job, and that he's giving Lewis a hard time. And a lot of people didn't expect that. But if the truth is, Jenson is not putting a foot wrong. He is driving brilliantly, and He's now in a strong position. He hasn't quite secured second in the Drivers' Championship, but hopefully he will do next race.
Do you think by signing him on a multi-year deal has helped him consolidate what has already been seen over the last number of races?
Well, I'd like to claim that, Eddie, but I think he's just such a cool and focused individual that I think he's doing a great job, and I think he fits well with the team. He works well in the organisation, so hopefully he'll continue, and we've got another 3 exciting years with him.
OK, and the final congratulations. Looking on the positive side, today you've confirmed second place in the Constructors' Championship. I know it's not first, but when a team has the speed of Red Bull, second isn't a bad place to be.
Well, it's better than third, fourth, fifth, but it's not what we wanted, but nonetheless, we've done it, we've secured it. Now we'll look on. We're putting our effort developing next year's car. We've still got 2 races. We'd like to win those. We're going to focus on that as well, of course.
OK, looking ahead to next year already, and I'm sure you'll be bringing development parts for the next couple of races, and we'll speak to you about those races. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. Right, just to let you know that if you've only just got out of bed and you missed any of the action today, then you can see it all again. The Indian Grand Prix will be repeated right here on BBC One and BBC One HD at 2:10 this afternoon, so you hardly have to move from your television sets, do you? Make a cup of tea, stay there, and we'll be back on. And if you missed that, you can see the highlights tonight at 7 o'clock on BBC 3 and BBC 3 HD as well. Just to let you know that the Valencia Grand Prix, the final race of the MotoGP season, will be on BBC 2 next weekend. I imagine that will be a rather somber affair, and we're back in 2 weeks' time for the penultimate race of the year, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, 12:15 on Saturday and Sunday. However, we're not disappearing anywhere yet. If you've got the ability, press the red button and join us for all of this.
Sorry, man, am I in the way? You just want to see me with dirty fingers, don't you? Yeah.
Look at you two, you're sort of bouncing away.
I can hear you might be.
I'm here, moaning and groaning and mumbling about the music. This is how they're celebrating down here at Red Bull. Yeah, I think just about the only negative of today is another win for Red Bull, which means more very loud music in the pit lane, sadly. But if you would like to, please do press the red button at the end of today's show and join us for the F1 Forum. You can get in touch via Twitter and also via email as well. We would love to hear from you. However, we're also doing our bit for Children in Need this year. And Eddie, would you like to announce to the public what you are donating for the Children in Need live auction?
Well, indeed, I would be very pleased to do so. I think it started off as a little bit of a joke of me trying to reach up to get this particular shirt. But it's going to be signed by everybody associated with the BBC programme today. And we're going to put it on eBay for you people to be able to auction, to make sure we raise as much money for the people and the kids in need. Children in need, they need the money. You can have my shirt. OK, and we're also getting rid of David Coulthard's famous garments, some white jeans, which we will get David and a few drivers to sign. Would you like to bid for those?
Yeah, I've got some. I've got my notes from the start of qualifying,
Great.
the start of the race, the running order from our show for the two shows, and the stats document that we use to pretend we know what we're talking about.
Brilliant, and I'll be giving away a signed script as well, which only takes me 2 minutes to write, so that's not a great hardship. But we would love you to get involved. bbc.co.uk/Pudsey. Please help us do our bit for Children in Need this year. However, we are now going to disappear off to the F1 Forum. If you would like to tweet us, if you'd like to email us, plenty of questions. We'll go into the pit lane, we'll have a good look around, and we'd love you to join us for that. But what a first Indian Grand Prix it was. Vettel treated the bull with the utmost respect here in India, and once again he stayed out at the front for the whole of the Grand Prix. He drove the kind of race that we've seen from Sebastian week after week, race after race. He started at the front, he finished at the front. Effectively, he just went for a nice drive to look at the sights, and what a place to come to look at the sights. Bye-bye.
Next time on Formula One.